So we got another cross-country system making its way through the eastern two-thirds of the United States. This storm has got snow, it has got rain, it has got severe weather, it has got pretty much everything that we typically see in a spring snowstorm. But it is February. It is just a crazy year. Winter has been existent in some places, non-existent in others, and this is kind of an example of that, where things are just not as they seem. So let's go through this. On the NAM here, we have some precipitation from the northeast all the way down to Texas, but we're going to be focusing on Texas here to start. You can see here that we have some heavy rain moving through Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, and eventually a low pressure forms here on Wednesday. As this system continues to move to the north, we have a little bit of snow in Oklahoma and Kansas. Now you can see that snow is on the very back end of the system with a severe threat that we'll get into a little bit later on the leading edge of this cold front here in Louisiana, with some warm front rain out in front of the low pressure. This is a very spring-like system, but it's February. So as we move on here, we see that this low pressure sets up right around Chicago with some heavy snowfall on the back end. This is going to be heavy, wet snow, so areas that get more snow could be seeing trees starting to collapse, power lines getting taken down with them, so power outages are likely, and we could be seeing just an absolute mess on the roads in some spots. Now that does include Milwaukee, Green Bay, the Quad Cities, as well as maybe even Kansas City. Now this system is also going to move into the northeast, and just as the rest of the year has been, the I-95 corridor gets nothing. All of the snow, ice, sleet is in Maine, New Hampshire, Vermont, and upstate New York. As this low pressure continues to move out, we see that wraparound snowfall continuing there in Michigan, and the system moves out. Now, we could also see a secondary low pressure form off the coast of North Carolina, but we'll get into that if that does develop. There's kind of still a lot of ifs around that storm system. Now, this storm is going to carry a severe threat with it, and with that, we are going to be seeing this develop over the next day or two. So right now, we're seeing just general thunderstorms, heavy rainfall across Texas, that low pressure forms, and we see this cold front start to form. So in general here, we have our isobars here, and when they start to jut out a little bit, that is where your cold front is. So you can see those isobars really starting to stick out right along this front here. And you can see that this front is basically straight north-south. And it starts to roll across Louisiana and Arkansas with severe weather all across this line here. And as the system continues to make its way through, we have cities such as Little Rock, Jackson, Mississippi, New Orleans, Baton Rouge, Alexandria getting this severe weather. So let's time it out here. You can see here around, let's call this 6 p.m. Central Time. You have this line of thunderstorms lining up here in western Louisiana, including Lake Charles and up into Arkansas. Now, as we get into the 8 o'clock hour Central Time, we are seeing Little Rock get into it, and then we see these storms roll into Baton Rouge and New Orleans there right around midnight into like 5 a.m. Thursday morning, including Jackson there as well. Then this severe threat continues on. Let's move over to a different view and keep looking at this severe threat. So we are right about here as this line of thunderstorms moves through Jackson, and we continue to see this line of thunderstorms start to deteriorate, but still some very powerful thunderstorms moving through New Orleans here around 4 a.m. Thursday. And we also have some heavy rain and thunderstorms moving through into Birmingham, Tuscaloosa, Montgomery as well before this whole entire line starts to deteriorate, and we kind of just have showers at this point moving through the end of Thursday into Friday, but that line kicks up again moving into the afternoon hours of Friday maybe, but this is the morning hours here, 6 a.m. Central, 7 a.m. Eastern. And that is all going to eventually lead up to that second low pressure that we're not going to talk about today. So here are our projected snow totals. Not a lot to talk about here, just this little band of, 0 to 3 inches from, Oklahoma City all the way up towards the Quad Cities, and then this little stripe across Wisconsin of 3 to 6 inches of snowfall. And even in these areas that get, 4, 5, 6 inches of snowfall, that really doesn't seem like a lot, but when it's that heavy, wet snow, it could have a lot of impacts. Again, down trees, down branches, down power lines, trees taking down power lines, that slush on the roads that really makes things hard to get through. So even though Wisconsin is no stranger to snow, wet snow is always a bit irritating, especially when we're talking about that heavy, wet snow occurring in a very small amount of time. Again, this band is very small, and that time period is very small as well. We also have a heavy rain threat with this system. You can see here that much of the region is getting at least an inch of rainfall here, with the prime targets for flash flooding here in Oklahoma up through Missouri here, where you could see over 4 inches of rainfall. This is just going to be that constant moderate to heavy rainfall. Now, these areas look a little bit familiar, and that is because we just saw some ice moving through these regions just a few weeks ago. So, kind of a big flip-flop moving around here in the eastern U.S. Now, we can't ignore the severe threat, and that will include Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Louisiana, all getting significant rainfall, as well as into the Carolinas here. But that prime target, again, is where that secondary low will eventually form, and that is right in here in North Carolina. But that band of rainfall that it comes from is moving across Georgia, Alabama, and portions of the panhandle of Florida. And these are the areas that you could see 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. But even in areas getting snowfall, we could be seeing up to an inch. And that is why that heavy, wet snow is really going to be a factor here, since those snow-to-liquid ratios are going to be very low. So that is definitely one concern here that we got to talk about over the next few days. But that is all I have for this system. Definitely a lot of key players in this event here. Heavy rain, severe weather, winter weather, all combining to form this winter but spring-like storm system cutting across the United States into the end of the week. But that is all I have for today. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I will see you guys next time.